Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to make one of my favorite videos of the year. This is the global dynamics of the last chapter of 2022. I made a video like this last year, which got a lot of nice feedback, so I am replicating it this year. And I am hoping to talk about some of the sort of final energetic insights that I'm getting about the year of 2022. Of course, we have the calendar new year coming in January of 2023, and then the astrological new year coming in March when Aries season starts. So I like to usually categorize this December, January, February, and beginning of March as the last chapter of a year. So these messages will definitely resonate for that larger time period, but especially here in December. Firstly, before we get started, everyone, I want to announce that the 2023 year ahead forecast will be premiering on December 21st, 2022 at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. Eastern time. We will be talking about the entire year ahead of 2023, and I will be providing a sign-by-sign installment as well in that video. So definitely mark your calendars. I will be posting a time zone document on the community tab of this channel if you're not sure what time that is for you. It will be a wonderful and exciting community event as we will be coming together on the solstice to talk about the year ahead of 2023. I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope you all can make it. But yes, also for those of you who are new and enjoy this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button below. You can turn on the bell notifications to be notified when that video comes and when future videos come as well. But anyway, everyone, yes, let's talk about the last chapter of 2022. You can also reference the 2022 year ahead forecast, which I'll link below. And I think the Pluto return video for the US is also very relevant right now, as that is also really starting to come in very strongly here. I am lucky enough to be recording this video during the time when Mouna Loa and Kīlauea are erupting in Hawaii. For those of my viewers who are watching from Hawaii, I actually have quite a few wonderful viewers who message me and I have worked with personally from Hawaii, so I hope you all are staying safe and are being able to witness the really sacred thing that is happening there for the Hawaiian people. Though yes, I hope you keep safe and can have as much distance from it as well, because it is, as any natural phenomenon / natural disaster, it can be beautiful to see from the outside, but is also very dangerous as well to be too close to. But I feel that the energy coming from these volcanic eruptions is having a global impact. And of course, the closer you are to Hawaii, the more you will feel that energy. But I can only imagine what it's like to be there. Of course, I'm in the mainland US as I'm filming this, so I can't feel it as strongly as someone who is in a proximity to it. But nonetheless, I can just feel it. And through the footage I've seen of it, it is incredible to be recording this video and thinking about these types of concepts during the time that is happening. But yes, let's talk about the end of 2022. So there is a bursting through happening. As you can see, as like a volcano does, there is something beneath the surface, or there is something that we're not usually in contact with that makes contact with the surface, and we see the way that something works or operates at an interior level beneath the surface. That's kind of the way mechanically that a volcano works. It shows you how the earth operates at a deeper level. It shows you the color, the true color of the earth as well. The lava that comes up through the volcano is an expression of the deeper core energy of the earth. And there is a lot of energetic learning that we can do through that. And it shows us also how the fire element and the earth element come together, as well as, honestly, the water and air element. Volcanoes really combine all of the elements as they demonstrate the true power of the earth. And that's something that I think that a lot of us are having to be reminded of here at the end of 2022, is like the power of the earth, okay? The power of nature. I think that a lot of people have forgotten. I think there's been a lot of human ego and a lot of what one individual can do with their own hands, the power of one individual, that has sort of prioritized or superseded the earth energy. So there is a high likelihood of natural disasters here at the end of 2022 and for quite a ways on, because of the sort of human ego, which has kind of superseded a lot of natural considerations. So we have to really take nature into consideration here. When I'm thinking of nature in this context, I'm thinking of natural limitations. okay? I'm thinking of also natural power. So the natural limitations and the natural power of an individual human come up here at the end of 2022 to be learned, okay? I think that a lot of people have forgotten. I think that a lot of people are totally out of step with the natural consideration. I think there's a big desire to try to wield the natural power, or to wield or be on the certain right side or angle of natural power. And and when I'm saying that, I mean like the energy of the earth, which is like millions of humans put together, if not more. So there can definitely be a humbling happening at the end of 2022. I think that everybody who is in some type of power trip or in some type of ego trip would be having like slivers coming into their life now, where they see, okay, these things that I'm so confident about, or these things that I'm so egoic about, can completely end, or can completely be taken, or completely collapse with just like the smallest introduction. So we have this kind of like new understanding coming in here at the end of 2022 of like how lucky some of us are, and also how alchemy, or how energetic consideration of the individual plays into success, plays into motivation, and plays into personal progress. We start to see that certain things are not guaranteed here. We start to see also that the attempt to predict for ourselves, the attempt to go from point A to point B, to set one objective and get that, there is a self-oriented power that comes into play there. Like we try to accomplish our own goals, or we try to step into our own motivation and do things with our own power. But the earth has to work with us after a certain point. And I think that a lot of us have maybe a lot of work to do in the coming year regarding how we work with the earth and how we champion the earth, okay? And not just champion our own economic interests. Okay, I talk a little bit about economics and global economics sometimes in these videos, and I'll kind of segue a little bit into that in this one. I talked a lot about it in the last installment back in 2021. You know, we were dealing with a lot of inflation then, and of course we still are, and dealing with a lot of changing in the business landscape. Gotta really say it's starting to decrescendo a little bit. So the money focus, the inflation focus, the idea of like what one can do with a certain amount of money, that is decreasing here. So for those of us who've been like really obsessed financially, entrepreneurially, these focuses start to fade a little bit and make way for more of a natural focus for those of us who are lucky. Okay, I will say, and this is something I'm going to be talking about, I think mainly in this video, but I might go into it a little bit in the 2023 year ahead. The super entrepreneurial business, money, resource focus is fading quite substantially. And it's trying to kind of, I'm not saying that it's going to be replaced by just a natural focus or by a more alchemical method of putting energy together, but that would be optimum. I'm seeing a lot of people moving into like actually the next decade with this like super, almost like OCD focus on gaining ground monetarily or financially, or pushing a certain business interest. And it starts to get stripped of its meaning. So that's also something that's coming up here at the end of 2022. We have this is a hard part of it, but there is a large vacuum sort of like sucking up a previous scope of meaning, and another type of meaning which has been beneath the surface almost erupting and totally replacing that. So I think that a lot of people might be going through this process in their own lives where they have a previous focus or a previous goal, a previous dream, a previous career that is completely placed aside for a larger, more ultimate cause. That's also supported by the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions we've had through 2022, and especially with Jupiter being on the cusp right here for this last chapter of 2022. We have Jupiter at the anaretic degree of Pisces, moving towards Aries, and we have Neptune also moving very slowly, but in that last decan of Pisces, having Chiron in Aries. So much activity happening in the Pisces and Aries vicinity of the zodiac that we have these sacred endings and sacred beginnings. And I think that this last chapter of 2022 is a major midpoint of that. So we have like getting more than halfway through this transition, sort of like Six of Swords in the tarot, halfway through this transition, this crossing of a channel, and we are really moving into what matters now. So significance, meaning, cause, motivation, being tied to a more kind of natural expression of you is a big part of this last chapter of 2022. And so what that means in more mundane terms is like making sure that you're not engaging in things that are not natural to you, okay? Making sure that you are maybe getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, but moving towards a more natural schemata for you. That is the best way that I can put it. So that's kind of dichotomous. Is that a word? That's kind of a dichotomy where we might associate like doing something more natural for us as moving more towards our comfort zone. It's not like that, because this is kind of like a volcanic energy that we have at the end of 2022, where it's like that eruption for the earth is not something that is easy for the earth. In fact, it's painful for the earth as it destroys a lot of its own creations, you know? Like if you look at the footage of Mouna Loa or Kīlauea erupting, you'll see fields and certain agricultural things happening that are being totally destroyed by the lava. But nonetheless, the volcanic eruption is something that the earth has chosen, and it is a natural process of the earth. So that kind of reminds us that we, as humans living on earth, have this similar process where sometimes we have to have our own eruptions, or we have to have our own cycle of destruction in our own life. So something that we've created that might have once been very sacred or beautiful for us may have to be, I don't want to say destroyed, that's a very strong word, because these things can regrow. Okay, it's not a permanent kind of destruction, but it is part of the earth archetype. It's part of nature in this plane of existence to have natural phenomenon that take away a previous growth cycle and make way for new growth. I mean, this is seen everywhere in Earth, okay? We have like pruning. We have, well, you know, when you prune the plant and create more possibility for growth. I've been talking about this on the channel for quite a while, and that's been an active archetype, you know, a more of a sacred pruning process that has been coming in ever since 2020. And we've got to understand what needs replacement in our life, what's been too difficult, what's been also a type of very inauthentic or inorganic creative process may need to be questioned at this time. And this should all be felt very deeply. So intuition is worth a lot here in the last chapter of 2022. That which we don't intuitively feel good about, that which we feel intuitively damages us or questions our greater future viability, is very important to see here. And we can kind of work with the earth, I think, to have our own kind of eruption, or to have our own kind of reprocessing of our own creation, and perhaps seeing the way that it's totally different in the future, or the way that we have to maybe scrap a few things or move away from a few things in order to have a truly natural process. So thinking of that sort of factory archetype that we were working with in 2021 with the Saturn-Uranus squares, right, which have ended now. We had the eclipse on November 8th, and the Saturn-Uranus square broke up. Saturn moved direct, Uranus moved retrograde, and they're getting away from each other now. I think that there's still an echo of it, though, and I think there's a lot being shut down. And I think that that's also interesting to be seeing, like the eruption of Mouna Loa and Kīlauea at this time, kind of reinforcing actually that eclipse energy that we had in November. I would imagine that there was a lot of activity happening beneath the surface back in November when we had the South Node in Scorpio, solar eclipse actually in October, and then the lunar eclipse in Taurus on November 8th. So I would imagine there was a lot of like rumbling and tectonic movements at that time, which connected, and because certainly with these geological types of events, these things take a very long time. So I mean, you're talking like many years of movements and momentum that is just now coming to the surface. So that's probably happening for a lot of people right now too. Many years of your own efforts now yielding a certain result. That very much ties into the energy that I was talking about, where I was seeing like promotions, graduations, ending certain momentums, moving from one industry to another, gaining a new status in life, whether that's physical or emotional. That's so validated by what's happening on the earth right now. Also with certain social phenomenon also happening at the exact same time. We have a different way that people are coming together. We have a different way that people are uniting and standing up for their own human rights right now, which is so important to also be seeing with this energy. As I think that the earth is really supporting, what do I want to say? I have to be careful with these types of things here on this platform, but the earth is, I think, really connecting to seeing the past oppression accounted for. And I think that it's so dynamically being consolidated in a sort of like individualistic, naturalistic way, which I think is very important. But that's also happening right now where we have a different way that people are coming together. And that's going to be something I'm going to be talking about in the 2023 year ahead, from a completely, just mundane point of view, like how people are wanting to come together more now at a interpersonal level, about how there's going to be a completely different grid that we're working with in 2023 relating to like how we find friendships, how we find romantic relationships as well, and how we relate to each other. As I see that there is a dehumanization grid that came in through the sort of social media oriented independence of the last actually 7 years. That is not something that just started in 2020, though it got climaxed through what happened in 2020. But this was actually something that was coming in strongly at about the time of 2014 and 15, and actually grew and grew and grew until it had a sort of dominating energy in 2020. And then that kind of stayed maintained through 21 and 22. And now we have an eruption here, actually a dual eruption that signifies and symbolizes a vast paradigm shift in the way that people are relating to the earth and in the way that people are relating to each other. So I want you all to think about that, because I don't want to sit here on my platform and prescribe for you what that means for you. I think that's a very important thing that we're moving into here in 2023, is not having to tell other people what something means for them, and rather letting people come to their own strong, self-determined meaning about what their life is. So I just want you to maybe think about that for yourself if you get the chance. What does it mean here at the end of 2022 for me to be so strong, perhaps? I think that people are actually much stronger than they give themselves credit for here. What does it mean for me to be this strong? What does it mean also for me to have made the progress that I've made in my life? What beneath the surface is now expressing? What long-running momentum have I now completed? And how can I relate to my fellow humans in a stronger, less judgmental, less angry way? That's another global dynamic that I would really like to talk about here at the last chapter of 2022, is people needing to be better than each other, people needing to judge each other, people needing to look down on each other. So a sort of collective condescending vibe that reinforces loneliness and reinforces lack of, therefore, collective power. So that's a common trend in social media. I mean, you would see that all over Instagram, TikTok, and other social medias, which need to not probably exist in the same way anymore. I love YouTube. Okay, YouTube. I love YouTube. I love YouTube. YouTube exists in a certain paradigm away from all those other social media. And just like anything, it has its own issues and things that it needs to fix as well. But I really love what YouTube has become, and I'm grateful to YouTube for allowing my channel to flourish the way that it has. But I will say that the dynamic of the individual being in their cage and being on their devices all day, listening to other people and forming judgments about other people, forming condescending psychologies about the free will of other people, is a divisive and self-disempowering choice. And the thing is people think that they're getting so strong. People think, I know who that person is. I judge that person. I'm going to make a YouTube channel judging other people and criticizing other people and being really antagonistic to other people. And they don't know that it's like a really self-destructive action. So the feeling of like ego, or the feeling of status, or the feeling of judgment becoming a self-elevating process is something that we have to look squarely in the face here at the end of 2022. And we have to know if that's happening, because in reality, zooming out, seeing that forest for those trees, that is something that is going to cause a huge collective disempowerment, because people can't come together. People can't actually knock on the door. Okay, what do I mean by that? So when you put yourself in that place of judgment and you judge another person based on what you see on your screen, that reflects back on you, and you actually start to judge yourself in a subconscious way that is similar. So you might be looking at your own life on a screen, or rather than being like a three-dimensional human, you might have like translated that two-dimensional screen psychology to your own life, and you might not know it, but you might be judging your own experience in the same way that you might be seeing someone on social media. So what that might mean is that you might not want to leave the house. Okay, you might want to confine yourself to a box, just like a screen, and not leave the house. And you might want to also probably not knock on any other doors, or not leave those four walls. That is the deeper psychological orientation of a life dominated by a social media construct, or dominated by, this new age of Aquarius collective understanding. So there are great things about it. I love what social media is giving us when it comes to understanding other cultures. There's a great opportunity to wield social media in a way that is empowering for everyone, and in a way that is very educational, very enlightening. And that's what I try to do as a social media creator myself. However, it's up to us, because we choose what we consume. And I mean, that's why I can't really say that social media needs to change in its current ways, because I mean, we still choose what we consume. But it's like, do you go to get fast food every day? Do you watch really angry, really two-dimensional social media videos? Do you like that's when we become like a very involved in a very kind of parasitic energy. So we have to, yes, global dynamics for the end of 2022. Very important it would be to start consuming things that are actually healthy and good for us. So that is going to happen at every single level: diet, media, anything you can imagine. Because, to kind of get back to my initial point here, there's an eruption happening, a dual eruption happening, and that which is beneath the surface comes through now. So we can't like hide it from ourselves. We can't be in a stage of denial about what we're contributing to, what we're building up, what we're supporting. You know, I talked a lot about this in the Pluto return video, which I'm linking below, about how a lot of people are going places and swiping their credit cards. They don't even know what they're supporting. They don't even know where that money's going. Like, a lot of people don't even know that that money is like going to propping up, like, it's harsh, but like slavery in a global South country. Okay. But we don't know it. And are we innocent in it? I don't think so, because we have to understand what we're supporting. So that's something that I would definitely just present to you here at the end of 2022. It's not perfect. I don't think that anybody, especially if you're in the US or a developed country, especially, I don't think that anybody can really totally avoid it, but there is certainly a scale of like how much we are contributing to that kind of stuff, and that's going to be important to have an understanding of if you can. And these things are so, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to do research on every single company that you're purchasing from? That's like a full-time job, right? I mean, not everybody has time to be an expert and to investigate every single thing. And that's why this is so complicated. It's actually a very decentralized kind of grid of different connecting points that we are providing energy to. So it's very difficult also to understand where it all goes. But that's where the beauty of 2023 is actually coming in. There's a great opportunity for everybody to kind of reform or readjust their contributions. But that's not quite here yet. In fact, one of the things I have written down for this particular video is final contributions. So it's not over. 2022 isn't over. There's long-running momentum that people are still having to make final contributions to. Again, very 9 of Wands, 10 of Wands energy. And I think that to support and to give foundation to those final contributions, it requires a certain foundation and a certain, series cycle of patterns. So basically, these solutions that we need here are not going to just be instantaneous, but as we emerge stronger, more powerful, more consolidated people out of this last chapter of 2022, there is going to be a big question of growth and what we support and the lifestyles that we generate off of what or on the backs of whom, okay? It's important for everybody to be thinking about this kind of thing. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about some of the macro effects, and I do want to kind of shift this down to the global micro. So what a lot of people might be feeling, or what a lot of people might be kind of like individually working with at the psychic level. I think that there's this is a super huge positive of the end of 2022. There's a great discovery that a lot of people are having about like their purpose, about their cause, about their motivation. And the thing is it's maybe not as physically consolidated as they would like. So you might have, for example, the Starbucks barista who now totally understands that they want to have a music career. Okay. So the music career hasn't manifested. We're still a barista at Starbucks, you know. I think that's a very common dynamic globally right now, where people are physically in one dimension and kind of psychically, mentally in a different one. And I will just tell you that that's not a great sign, okay? It means that there's a split in the manifestational energy that you're working with. So this is very common in the human condition. It's not like people have never been through this before, but it does mean, if you're experiencing this, that something is being supported or is being too saturated that you don't need to be putting your energy toward. I am seeing in 2023, okay, and 2024. Like, honestly, we have quite a long time throughout this entire decade before it really does kind of close up quite a bit. For people to step totally on to their purposeful path and to not have this split between what they do every day physically with their actions, with their real human energy, versus what they think about or what they want for themselves. To me, I don't like that feeling, but I understand like reality is a thing. There are bills to pay. There is like real life and stuff. And yes, when the crown chakra gets too overactive, so when we act based on whim or based on thought without a physical foundation or without a physical structure to support it, that can really lead to problem as well. So I've been talking since like 2021 about the importance of like third eye and crown chakra development, because I think a lot of people are really struggling about like orientation and where does my intuition tell me I need to go versus where do I go? How do I identify toxic narcissistic people versus, kind and certainly rare, kind, helpful people these days. That human intuition to know immediately whether someone is a kind or mean person is a difficulty right now too. I think that a lot of people struggle to differentiate. And I think a lot of people play it safe. So again, they isolate or they choose independence, which is rewarded at this point in time, rather than even taking a chance on people. So hyper-independence, yes, which ultimately is not the best, but can work in this paradigm as well. But it does lead to a lot of work, like a very DIY kind of culture, which I would say out of balance is very preventative to the greater soul purposes. But certainly being too tied to other people or too out of focus with your own independence can be equally as disempowering. So we're coming to a greater balance, right? We have this last bit of the South Node in Scorpio, North Node in Taurus, up through the first half of 2023. So we've already come past the halfway point there. And once we get to South Node in Libra, we're going to have to be very balanced people acting with very balanced intentions. So that's something that I would probably say for the last chapter of 2022 as well, as like imbalance, okay? Being that the South Node is moving through this part of Scorpio, I think that imbalance is indicated. I think that a lot of people have like a dietary with North Node in Taurus, dietary, economic imbalance. Maybe this is like debt crisis as well, as the North Node in Taurus indicates unrealistic spending, inflation, all of that stuff. So to touch very briefly on economic stuff, again, I'm not wanting to focus it too much, just because I've really focused on that over the North Node in Taurus, and it's already kind of like getting old. But yeah, I do think that inflation will continue. I don't think that it's going to get totally capped off, at least not here in the US. But there is a possibility that it will really change. But nonetheless, the damage is still here, and the inflation that has already happened will still be something that people have to adjust to. And then there is a possibility of it just like continuing as well, depending. But that's all very dependent on the next few months. So I really don't want to place a strong prediction on that. But, you know, it's kind of good to, honestly, for most people, for like 99% of people, okay, I really just recommend pulling back on spending as much as you can, unless you're spending for something that is going to support you for the rest of your life. So for some people, that's like a degree. For some people, that's a house. For some people, that's investing in a family or a community. If it's not something that's important to you for the rest of your life, or for like your most happiness, like in this very moment, I wouldn't even spend. Okay, so any type of compulsive purchases I would turn off, because that's one of the reasons why we have inflation right now too. Okay, it's not just the Federal Reserve, it's not just government spending, it's not just those stuff, though those stuff certainly are very tied to it. It's also what's called in economics animal spirits. Okay, so we have a culture around consumption. We have a culture, you know, with having Amazon so close to our fingertips, with social media culture, with advertising. People are spending more frequently and partaking in way more transactions than ever. Okay, and that also inflates the economy. So if you individually want to help inflation, try to, and this is hard because things are not as good quality as they have been before, but try to really turn off the unconscious credit card spending, okay? For some people, that's going back to a cash system. For some people, it's just also not being on the grid as much, okay? So maybe for those of you who live rurally, you have a big advantage here. Oh my gosh, if you have a rural residence, I will say there's still kind of a hybrid experience, so there are downsides to living rurally right now as well. But if you have like a rural residence and then maybe like, I don't know, self-employment income where you can like go back and forth to like cities at your leisure, that is to me one of the best balanced ways to live right now. But it does take a lot of energy to have both. But if you live rurally, or if you have space off the grid, I think that you can really get ahead during this time. And I think that there's like room for investment, or there's room for creating really powerful structures. But yes, if you live in a city, okay, if you live urban, it's going to be very hard to get ahead unless you have a ginormous income. Even then, with this consumer cultural spirit that is really dominating with the North Node in Taurus, having Uranus in Taurus as well. I mean, I can totally give you guys like the holy grail secret, like stop using the credit cards, stop using uninstall the Amazon app, uninstall, purchase YouTube Premium. Okay, I'm gonna give a advertisement for YouTube Premium. Okay, you would be surprised at how much the ads you're watching on YouTube video influence you. You don't think so, but I can tell you they do. Just go ahead and invest that $10 a month into YouTube Premium and stop watching the ads. And you will save money because of that. So that's my little ad for YouTube Premium. And then there are other ways as well. But yes, you want to definitely watch for food expenses, watch for... I think that a lot of people are eating their money right now with North Node, Uranus, and Taurus. That's indicated. It's likely that people are so busy or are in such a karmic story right now that they just like want their food delivered, and they want their packages delivered, and they want the service industry to be their foundation. And that works for some people, but it's very expensive. And I mean, I think it's a small percentage of people who can truly afford it. So it is better, I think, also to have families and to have like a significant other. Like that's a very economical thing right now too, to have like help, okay, from someone who cares about you. Not that that's what it's about, but those of us who are super independent and relying on the service industry have a big part to play in inflation as well. It's also going to become harder and harder to purchase houses, especially, I mean, this is different in certain places in the world, but here in like the US, for example, I will tell you like that's going to get more and more difficult. So it's good to secure housing right now. It's still very possible. Again, I don't want to rush anybody. I'm not a financial advisor. This depends on your own personal stuff. I'm just kind of talking about collective dynamics here. Housing will, I think, also decrease, that like the cost of housing will decrease, but it could be more difficult to get loans. So again, unless you're very wealthy and you have like cash to purchase houses, you could, if you're in that category, you can really get ahead here because people who cash purchase houses, I think, can save a lot. But for people who need to apply for loans, that could become more difficult. But that's quite a ways off, actually. Perhaps not even relevant to the last chapter of 2022. I'm just stream of consciousness here, because I do see an overall drop in cost of housing, but yes, higher interest for loans, of course. Otherwise, I think also stock market, cryptocurrencies, stuff like that is going to be very volatile with general decreases. So good time again if you're just buying in, but watch out if you're holding. But again, it's hard to apply this because there are going to be different stocks that defy this. Again, it's going to be hard to really prescribe an overall direction. It's going to be very chaotic and volatile with different things going up and different things going down, because we have a certain K-shaped phenomena that happened right after COVID, right, where we had digital and virtually based industries really rising and then on the ground industries really falling. So that has rippled out to here. So we have a split in the entire economy and different companies have different connecting points to both sides of the K-shaped phenomenon. So that's the best way I can describe this. But yes, for those of you who are investing or those of you who are trying to crack that code, that could be very hard. I don't know if there's really a code to crack. I think it would be very much like gambling if we're doing really any kind of market investing now. I mean, I think honestly, for a lot of this, for a lot of us, the best thing that we can invest in is us, our communities, our families. Okay. Yes, I'm seeing by the end of the 2020s a lot of people who lost a lot when they could have like invested instead of in like their weird distant stock that they know nothing about, their families. Okay. Better to invest in our families, better to invest in our water as well, our that which we're consuming into our body. I mean, imagine like eating fast food while investing in the stock market. Crazy. I think that a lot of people are actually in that category, though. It's like there's a new kind of culture with investing right now where people who live on very basic incomes are like investing in the stock market now, or investing small amounts, which is great. More power to you. But is that sustainable? So this is very much like FIRE movement, right? I think there's a big problem with that, and I think that that's not going to give people what they think it's going to give them. Try to invest in the significance of your present moment. Try to also do more timeless things, okay? So passive income is not timeless. Passive income is contingent on a lot of things. Passive income is contingent on the maintenance of the status quo neoliberal global economy. Any type of passive income you can have in 2022 is completely contingent on the maintenance of the current global economic system, which is in complete questioning right now with the current geopolitical affairs, you know, with different territorial disputes right now as well. So I'm not saying not to do it, because there's going to be a way that it still maintains, but you want to make sure that it's not maybe the main focus of your life, because that's a pipe dream, and that's unless you like to live as a gambler, unless your profession is like gambler, unless you're in like Las Vegas playing like poker all the time and like that's your energy line, I wouldn't expect, and I'm really talking to people who are not like multi-millionaires who can, you know, just do that $3 million investment this year and get that return and cash out. You know, I'm talking to people who are putting like percentages of their like sort of more humble paychecks into these systems. I don't think that it's wrong if you have everything together, okay? If you're like out of debt, if you're healthy, if you have food that is good sourced positive food, if you have like an independent household in a place that you feel is safe, yeah, there's room to step into that, but you want to make sure that those bases are covered. So we have, you guys, here's my thesis for this, bringing all of this together, a change in paradigm in what we require of ourselves before we embark certain paths. So having, for example, like healthy diet, healthy housing, a location that you like, and also like career, industry, and perhaps education that you like as well, maybe before going crazy with certain like investments or certain economic questions. And I mean, again, I would redirect your attention to Hawaii, okay, and Kilauea and Mauna Loa. And I want to ask you if like the stock market, for example, or anything regarding currency has any kind of power in comparison to that, okay? That's what I love so much about nature, and that's what I love so much about the real world and the real earth and everything in that reality, is that it really shows us that there are bigger things than these like rat races, than these human created things like currency, markets, trade regimes. Those things are certainly powerful, and they have a great power over what people like have in their lives and what people eat and what people, and so I mean there's power there, of course, but it's nothing compared to the power of the earth and to the power also that humans have as people who walk the earth, okay? So it's really nice, and this is such a significant idea for the last chapter of 2022. It's really nice to transcend the monetary rat race in a way and think about your true significance in correlation to the earth, okay? That's going to be the bigger thing here as we approach the ending time of North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. A lot of people are facing that type of moral, like, wow, look at all the time I invested in something that meant nothing, something fiat, something that I had like no real stake in, truly, okay? So giving your money to a stock corporation and having no control over what that is or does seems strange to me. Nonetheless, we do it, and nonetheless, it's encouraged, and there are people who win and people who lose. So that's something else about the end of 2022 is winners and losers, okay? That will be very clear by the end of 2022. And to me, victory feels like being in some type of more natural harmony with the earth, more so than it feels like, rocking out that tax return or rocking out that profit and loss statement or whatever. So deification of the profit and loss statement is something that I feel is experiencing a widespread destruction right now. And we will be facing more of a greater question about how we're wielding our life force energy outside of those 2D constructs, outside of the profit and loss statement, outside of the mobile screen, outside of all those four corners, okay? So that's a fun little stream of consciousness, but it's pretty severe. And again, these dual volcanic eruptions happening at the same time as I'm filming this are really reminding me that there are greater powers and there are higher forces, okay, than any type of human actors. And it's better to be, I think, connected to that, or not necessarily connected to it, but to be humble to it and to really respect it and to maybe orient ourselves and our work and our contributions in alignment with nature more than false light or false creations. To conclude, my final message that I want to say for global dynamics for the last chapter of 2022 is congratulatory, okay? That's been a word that I've been coming back to really often when I've been doing the previous readings for like December and November, was like a congratulatory energy. Some people have really proven something incredible to themselves in 2022. I think that people have really overcome. Ooh, this is beautiful, you all. Okay, so this is segueing us into a totally different territory. I think that people have repelled psychic attacks here. I think that people have overcome the negative wishes of other people. I think people have broken curses in 2022. I think people have shifted generational trauma, generational implications in 2022. I wouldn't underestimate this, and this is very much in the context of Mouna Loa and Kīlauea. This is the type of stuff that I'm interested in here at the end of 2022. This is the true human energy that we, I think, forget when we get so focused on, the more short-term aspects and the more fiat aspects. It's really important to see that and honor that. Regardless of what your turnout is, regardless of how significant or insignificant you think some of the things you've contributed to in this year are, there's something that by just crossing this time threshold, 2022, right? 3 2s, 222, it's a big deal. Anytime that you have like that type of repetitive number construct, it has a certain symbolic meaning always, due to the way that collective consciousness, agrees on the timing. And also having the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions, having that in Jupiter finishing its cycle over 12 years throughout the zodiac is always significant as well. The fact that that's happening in 2022. Pluto changing sign, of course, in 2023, very soon in Aquarius. Saturn about to change sign into Pisces. We have a totally different life, you guys, oncoming, and I'm going to be devoting a lot of time to that in the 2023 year ahead forecast. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So I'm just previewing for you a little bit of what's to come in that video. I'll be talking about these sign changes and what that means, okay? So hit that subscribe button below and turn on the bell notifications, and keep tuned to my community tab here on YouTube if you want to see that and get those insights, because I'm really excited for it. But yeah, last stage of 2022, it's not quite over. It's not quite there, right? We still have Jupiter in Pisces. We still have Saturn in Aquarius. We still have Pluto in Capricorn. So it's not there yet. But this is like that last threshold. So it's like, I don't know, for those of you who are like gamers out there, I don't know. These are like those last boss battles. Those are very hard. It's a hard time. It's a 10 of Wands, 9 of Wands time, if we're thinking archetypally. This is not easy, but through overcoming it and through coming through it strong and wieldy, you are looking at a totally lighter and really self-empowering time coming ahead. With, yes, some like not familiar territories, or having to face things that are like not really, you're not used to. But I think that that's really what everybody's asking for here, honestly. And as we come through, it's important to congratulate yourself, to honor yourself, and to understand to what degree you want to work with the energetic momentum that you're on in the future. So I will conclude this video there, everyone. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope that it's been interesting for you. I was lucky enough to film this video during the eruptions of Kīlauea and Mouna Loa, which I thought was so interesting. And it is something, I'm not a geologist. I'm not an expert on how volcanoes work. But again, I just want to reaffirm for those of you watching from Hawaii, what a sacred, significant, incredible thing, but stay safe. I'm not sure, according to the reports that I've seen, again, I'm filming this on November 30th, so this could certainly change. It's supposedly not going to threaten people, and people are supposedly not in danger, but I would be safe with it, and I hope that you're all staying safe, because it's really, really incredible to see that happening right now, of all times. So how sacred, and how I know for the Hawaiian people, it's a very spiritual and very important thing for them. So I definitely venerate you all during that process that you're going through there. And again, I wish you safety and strength, and for everyone as well, because I think it's a microcosm for what the world is going through right now, even though we're not all facing the question of volcanic eruptions. That is happening at a deeper energetic level. So anyway, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a beautiful ending chapter of 2022. And yes, December 21st, 2022, I am putting together the 2023 year ahead forecast. Come check it out. And I will be doing a live premiere there. So we'll all be able to come together and meet again at that time to ring in the calendar new year that will be upcoming. So thank you all, everyone. There won't be too many videos between now and then, because I'm really devoting my resources to making a great video for that one. But I am on Patreon. I have T-chats that go up over there. That's linked below in the description box. And I hope you all are enjoying the end of 2022. Have a beautiful one. Bye.